All right, well, deer season is officially over, and it has become shed season. Just saw an opossum run in this hole. Anyway, 2022 shed season is upon us, and I immediately start going out looking for sheds, looking for sign. When you've got snow on the ground and it's right after the season, it is the best time to figure out what your local deer herd is doing. And I'm also mentally logging everything because there's a lot of changes I want to make this year. I want to put food in a lot of my spots, more food, and I've got to cut a bunch of access and you know, just readjust, go in and rethink a few of the properties, and now is the perfect time to do it. So anyway, today I'm starting at one of my favorite pieces of property. Got a couple deer I'm looking for right now. I'm looking for two really big 8-pointers. We've got the big 8 that we've been chasing for years. He went from an 8 to a 10, back to an 8. We know for a fact he shed both sides. There's another deer that's really not a resident in this area, but he tends to winter here for whatever reason. Another real nice 8-pointer, and then a few deer that have gone missing, some younger 10-pointers, a few 9-pointers. But anyway, we're just going to pick this property apart. The first time I typically do a walkthrough, I could do all the obvious stuff. I walk a lot of the trails. I just hit the big stuff. It's a very thick piece of property. Everything is a lot of this buckthorn and honeysuckle growth. And what I've found is it's just better to just run these trails first, and then I start getting into the nitty gritty. And then I always go back to the trails, because a lot of times what happens is coyotes will find the antlers in the brush or where they're bedding, and they drag them out to the open or drag them out onto the edges. So anyway, like I said, it's go time. It's shed season. It's one of my favorite times of the year. So we're gonna run this property, and we're gonna see if we come up with a few antlers. Hopefully we do. And yeah, let's go. Woo! All right, first shed of the year. Here we go. I was walking, actually, a trail, and I could see right through there. I made this little clearing last year. So what I did was I came in here in mega mode, all the brush down, and as you can see, brush grows up, and it's that's 1 year of growth. But every little tip, the deer eat it. The deer are eating the tips off all this stuff. They love this little browse. So anyway, let's see who it is. Oh yeah, it's nice. So big 8, here we go. Check this out. So this is actually the buck that's not really a resident here. Must have just recently dropped. Bam. We don't really have a name for this deer. He's a really nice deer, older deer. And for whatever reason, he moves in at the end of the season. Last couple weeks, sheds his horns, and then he leaves again as soon as he starts sprouting new ones. But cool, nice antler, I'll take it. First one of the year, bam. Look around here for the match. All right. You've got to be kidding me. Holy cow. This deer. Oh. Oh. This is crazy. This is the buck that Matt Miller shot out here 5 years ago. So He shot this buck and hit his camera and the shot was off. We trailed him for about a half a mile and lost him. And we were just going on little teeny bits of blood. He was basically, it was almost like a watery blood that we were following at the time. This is 100% that deer. Holy cow, this is, gosh, we're going on like 5-6 years ago. This deer has been laying in this swamp for that long. Hey Miller, I got your buck. Wow, I can't believe I missed it so many years in a row. But you know, with the water level being down, this deer was probably in the water, and the water actually normally goes back here behind me. The deer died in the water, and I just never found him. And we had a drought year this year. The water receded by a long ways, and there he is, tucked up against the water. Man, what a deer. All right, well, just making my way back to the truck, going through this little brush. Another great little browsing area. I've got a shed spotted up here. Looks like a real nice one, and it looks like an old one. But, oh yeah, oh yeah, nice shed. Check this out. Unbelievable. That's last year's side. Ha! Check this out. There he is last year. And there he is this year. G4 got a little bit better. What's crazy is we don't ever really get a lot of trail camera pictures of this deer. I've just seen him quite a few times. What's crazy is, like I said, he comes in here, sheds his horns, and leaves. He's a great deer. I think I have the other side from last year, but big old deer. Didn't get much bigger from last year. Longer G4, but hey, I'll take it. What a day. All right, shed season, here we go. It's rocking and rolling already. First day out, we got a pile of antlers and a buck that went MIA. Good day. All right, here we go. Day 3, back on the home farm, going after the big 8 today. Since the last time we shed hunted here, we've had a lot of melt off. So you can see some of these south-facing hillsides. The snow has burned off. The rest of it's probably only about 2 inches. It's hard packed, really crunchy, and I can scoot across it. So I'm gonna cover some ground today. The last time I hunted or shed hunted here, you know, I was just doing a lot of the perimeter stuff. We're gonna dive in today. We're always, you know, you're always attracted to the spots that are melted. So we'll just hit all these little continuous spots that are melted and just bounce from spot to spot to spot. And hopefully we come up with the big 8. You know, that's the deer we've been after for a long time. He's one heck of a deer. Now that he's 6 or 7 years old, he's really living on this property, and his home range has developed. It's gotten very small. We really know that he's been living in this area. Had a few close calls with him this year. Justin almost killed him right at one of the last days of the season. And then he shed his horns. So anyway, let's get after it. Let's get walking. Here we go. Well, cruising around looking for the match to the big dog, and this is one of the things I do a lot of. Bradford pear tree. There's all these little berries. Look on the ground. Birds, rabbits, deer, they come and hit these spots, and they spend a bunch of time right underneath the trees. They'll lay down. I mean, there's a bed right there. So when they're hungry, they just lay down here. They mill around, and then they lay back down. But there's all sorts of these Bradford pears that are pretty invasive here in northern Illinois, but they're all over. And see this little section I've got here? Every tree is opened up underneath for the deer pawn, getting those berries. High in a lot of protein. Absolutely love them. So continuing on, looking for our match. Hopefully he's somewhere in the area. What a deer. I can't get over how heavy this thing is. This thing's like a couple pounds, 6 pounds. I don't know, it's heavy. All right, let's keep going. Woo! So, heading back to the truck, moseying on through, looking at all the deer sign. There's a bunch of apple trees in here. Deer pawing up old apples. Over here. Turn to look and walk down the trail, and there is the match. Pedicle straight up in the air. Dead raccoon too. Here he is, all matched up. Yes. Doesn't get any better than that. All right, well, you know what? What a day. You know, we've got a bunch of snowstorm, or a big snowstorm coming in on Thursday. I'm like, I've got to go one more time and hit this area really hard before all the snow covers up these sheds again and possibly the squirrels start chewing them up. And I was able to come up with the #1 hit list buck that we have on our home farm here in northern Illinois. And I can't be happier. This is just so awesome to lay my hands on this giant set of sheds and this awesome buck. You know, we've tried really hard to hunt this deer this year, and we basically figured out where he was living in this small little woodlot, but he was untouchable. So I got really frustrated, and I think right at the end of December I went in there with my big mega mower and I mowed everything down all in and around this big giant fruit tree right on the edge of where he was bedding, and within 12 hours that deer came out and started feeding, and he was regularly coming into the area during daylight, morning and afternoon. So we had him pretty pinned, and we just didn't want to go in and get to right where he was bedding, and sure enough it worked. We had a lot of encounters with does and some smaller bucks. I never personally laid my eyes on him this year, but right toward the end of the year Justin actually had an encounter, and he almost had him at about 20 yards. He came through the little clearing that we created, and it almost worked, but you know, after that then he shed his horn, so it's kind of game over. He gets the pass to next year. But just an awesome animal. You know, he went from a big 8 to the big 10, which is the 10 that I had an encounter with him last year at 40 yards. It was just too far away, and he was impressive that year. But then he went back to the 8, put on a bunch of mass, and just became, you know, he ruled the roost out here. Every single picture we have of this deer